Things are heating up in the quarterback market as recent reports have revealed the Vikings are a dark horse for Aaron Rodgers, and with recent events involving Sam Darnold, the plan has changed for the Vikings quarterback. We're going to be breaking it all down here in this video. Very quickly before we get into this one, though, we know that 91% of you guys watching right now are not subscribed to the channel. If you're looking for a spot for all of your Minnesota Vikings news, you're in that right spot. Hit the sub button. Join me and Griffin here on the channel. We are covering everything Minnesota Vikings, and we are literally weeks away from all of the craziness of the NFL offseason, so you're not going to want to miss it. Be sure to hit the sub button. Join us here on the channel. But without any further ado, let's get into this very big recent news that have caused quite a stir with the Minnesota Vikings quarterback. Starting off here with Geno Smith. The trade that involves sending him to the Raiders now has put Sam Darnold in a very interesting position. This is what Tom Pelissero said with the Geno Smith trade opening a spot in Seattle. Sam Darnold is not expected to return to the Vikings, who are now focused on other options they've been pursuing in recent weeks, sources tell the insiders. Those options include re-signing Daniel Jones, who is mulling multiple opportunities. And Daniel Jones is someone that me and Griffin have spoken about here for a while. I think it's a great opportunity for him, not just him, but also the Vikings to be able to get a quarterback at a cheap price. Someone who, when he's on, is on. That's what Griffin mentioned here in the video before last, that, when he's off, he's not good. But when Daniel Jones is on, he is playing very, very good. But there are a lot of other opportunities that he's going to have, as well as some other quarterbacks to the Minnesota Vikings. And this is what Ian Rappaport put on X. With Geno Smith headed to the Raiders, the fallout is dramatic. The Seahawks turn their attention to Sam Darnold, which means the Vikings' time with Darnold is likely over as they turn their eyes to Daniel Jones. Though Daniel Jones has options, with Minnesota and the Colts being among them, but Aaron Rodgers lurks, considering the Giants and the Vikings as a dark horse. Now, when we're looking at teams like the Giants and the Vikings, that's really all we've heard. So putting these two teams in that dark horse category really raises a lot of questions about what other teams are involved, and if any other teams are involved, where would you rank them among the teams that are interested or at least pursuing or linked to Aaron Rodgers? Now, this Aaron Rodgers stuff is getting ridiculous. Let's be honest here. After not having a very good season at all in New York with the Jets, he is now on the look for somewhere else for, however long it may be. Could be one season, could be two, could be three. But the situation for the Minnesota Vikings is very interesting now that we've been able to see J.J. McCarthy come out and talk about what's going to be happening. All he wants is a fair chance with whoever is going to be competing at that role. And with Sam Darnold, bringing him back for the price it would have been, really would have put the Vikings in an interesting position, not just with the cap space and what else they needed to get at this offseason to be able to make the team competitive again next season, but also J.J. McCarthy, who would have been on the bench for another year. Now, last year, he really didn't have a choice, was injured, tore some stuff in his leg, and now going out here in this season, ready to compete, and as last season was very close to becoming the actual starter for the Vikings, he's going to want a fair opportunity. He's going to want that shot here in this offseason, and for when you're looking at Aaron Rodgers, I think that shot would not be there. Yes, he'd be competing for it, but you don't go and sign Aaron Rodgers to be a backup quarterback. The reason that he would be there would be to be that starter, and that is something that I just don't think would go well with J.J. McCarthy, who is looking to be that starter here this year. Now, when you do have Daniel Jones, and if that's the potential that the Vikings are looking at again this season, you do have that ability to have Daniel Jones as a backup if need be. He has that potential. He's still very young, and we can see him as a starting quarterback at some point if we absolutely need to. But looking at Aaron Rodgers, the price is better for Daniel Jones. The player, I think I would honestly rather Daniel Jones right now, apart from Aaron Rodgers. The experience is there and everything, and what he would teach J.J. McCarthy is obviously very useful. But I think that looking at J.J. McCarthy right now and the way that we've seen him, at least so far, and while this offseason is still going to progress and we're going to see more and more of J.J. McCarthy, we're going to be looking at him as a much more developed and better quarterback than when the Vikings had gone out and drafted him. Now, looking at the Vikings cap space here this season, where you're currently running at a $63 million, which is 6th in the NFL, and that's a very useful amount of cap space, especially for many teams, but especially the Vikings here in this offseason, who in this Vikings team are looking to still continue to add. The secondary still very depleted, and of course we had a signing of Theo Jackson the other day, but still very depleted nonetheless. offensive line. You kind of need to really revamp the middle of that center on both your guards. You would probably like another pass rusher. That's going to be a lot of money to be able to spend, and not a lot of money when it comes down to it when you're going to be down to the final pieces to be able to add. And with adding a quarterback, whoever it may be, whether it's Aaron Rodgers or whether it may be a Sam Darnold, even though that's now likely off the cards and likely shifting their focus away from Sam Darnold, that would take at least a quarter, of this cap space out of the picture for the Minnesota Vikings, and they cannot afford to do that. You go to get J.J. McCarthy on a rookie contract for a reason. You're trying to run with him for a reason, and it really just does make zero sense to go and get Aaron Rodgers when a Daniel Jones could be a much cheaper option to be pairing with J.J. McCarthy. Now, Aaron Rodgers' last cap hit we can see is $23.5 million. It will not be that again this season, whoever he does end up signing with, but it's Aaron Rodgers. You're going to have to pay for him regardless. If it's anything low, if it's anything below Aaron Rodgers is what he thinks he's worth, he just won't sign it, even if he has no other deals. That's where issues can really come into play, especially with, in this case, Aaron Rodgers in specific. And, the 23.5, that right there is a third of the Vikings cap space. You want that to be significantly lower, and maybe if you can get him for a $10 million, which I think is kind of absurd, you maybe do it then, but I still am not the biggest fan of the idea due to the way the Vikings are kind of built out, but also the chemistry that this team has already built without Aaron Rodgers, and I do think that he could very much ruin that here with the Vikings team in any given scenario, just because he is Aaron Rodgers. But of course, when we do and go look at the Vikings depth chart, whoever it may be at quarterback has weapons. They have what they need here. Aaron Jones and Cam Akers, this is just the old depth chart, so they're still not here right now. But Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkins, and CJ Ham, two great tackles looking to upgrade the guard, but the offense has been able to really put up some numbers the past few seasons with Kirk Cousins, with Sam Darnold, and giving J.J. McCarthy that option to be able to use them, or whoever it may be, Daniel Jones, kind of the same thing, will have a much better offensive scheme, but also better weapons than what he did in the Giants. You could say the same thing with Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, a much better system, a much better scheme, a much better offense, but we know that Aaron Rodgers likes to do his own thing, and that's where things can really come into play, and we can butt heads a bit. But looking at now the way that things are built, and the way that Aaron Rodgers is being ranked in the third tier of free agent by The Athletic, it is very interesting to see what teams are going to do, what the Vikings in specific are going to do, because I'm not the biggest fan right now of the idea of putting Aaron Rodgers on this quarterback depth chart. But let me know what you think. I think this is a very interesting thing that we're going to have to look at here when Tom Pelissero says that Sam Darnold is no longer going to be an option for the Vikings. They're pivoting to Daniel Jones. They're pivoting to Aaron Rodgers. And time will only tell who is going to be signed. So let me know what you think here down in the comments below. But like I said, that's all I got. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.